Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I would like to talk about what it was like at 9 years old to have my parents divorce and my dad move away. So, as I had explained kind of in the Draw My Life in earlier videos, we had moved when I was in 3rd grade. And by the time I was in 6th grade, my parents were separated, getting a divorce. I was 9. And it was really odd. I was young, so I probably didn't fully understand all of their issues. They kept their issues in private. I never heard them fighting. I never heard any kind of commotion or any signs that would indicate that they were getting a divorce or that they weren't happy. I just remember one day my dad had moved out and our house was connected to an apartment. So we had our house and they had used it, the other small apartment, as like a rental when we first moved in, and then turned it to like just a room where like we could entertain our friends and we could have friends over and that kind of thing. But by this time the place was emptied out and he was using that as a place to stay. Right after he moved out of the main house, he was staying in the apartment for maybe a few months, few weeks, because he didn't stay there long. We had like a 30-foot camper that we used to travel. We traveled to Disney with, we traveled to Myrtle Beach, we traveled to the Poconos, traveled all over with as a family, and that was parked just on the outskirts of the town that we lived in, and he would stay there in the summer, besides living in that apartment. Still saw him every day, still went to his work and hung out, still visited him. Everything to me, being 9 years old, turning 10, it didn't seem reality that my parents were divorcing. It didn't seem any different to me. I never understood it at that time. And then by September of that year, he had resigned from his position as the superintendent of the school all of his children were attending. He waited until all of his kids were in the same school. The building was K through 12, and my little sister was just starting kindergarten that year. So he waited for us to finish the first full week of school, like 3 days, all under the same building. He was the superintendent. We were in grades, kindergarten, 6th grade. And my brother was a senior, and my sister was in 9th grade. So we were all there for the 3 days opening of school. And then he left. He moved about an hour and a half away. And I still couldn't figure out at first why nobody else wanted to see him and why nobody else wanted to go visit. And it was just kind of me. And I was getting like phone calls at school to talk to him because he wouldn't call the house, but I could talk to him at school. He would arrange it with like his coworkers that he used to have and he was close to. And then one time I arranged a visit with him. I would ride, at 9 years old, I would ride the Greyhound bus an hour and a half to Binghamton by myself and go there for the weekends to see him like once a month maybe. And on the first couple visits, it was great. It was just me and him, and he had a tiny little apartment upstairs and just kind of cozy, 2 bedrooms. I thought he was just there and just started a new job. I still didn't understand. They never got into any of the details with us younger kids at that point. So one weekend I went up there and he was like, "Hey, I have a surprise for you." And I had one teacher, the same teacher for 4th and 5th grade. She was great. I liked her as a teacher. She was probably one of my favorites since we had moved there. I thought everything was fine, and she had ended up leaving before the school year had started that year. So I hadn't seen her. I had moved up. I was in 6th grade. And then I go to visit my dad, and he's like, "Oh, I've got a surprise for you." And he's like, "She'll be here tomorrow." And he would always preface it like, "Oh, she wants to see you," or "She wants to say hi," or "She's coming to visit." But I still didn't click at 9 and then, shortly 10 years old that my dad, that's what had ended the relationship with my mom. She was my teacher. He was the superintendent of the school. and they were both cheating. They were both married, and they were both cheating. And now, 6 months later, she's at my dad's apartment, an hour away, visiting for the weekend. And then every time I went up there, from then on, she was there every weekend, every weekend, every weekend. So, it was interesting, but they still never sat down and explained, like, we're together, we're this is the new relationship I'm in. Nothing was ever explained. It was just like, oh, she wants to come see you for the weekend. So I told her you want to see her, so she'll be here. Then it slowly progressed. He moved this to where I currently am now. He moved out this way with her. They bought a store, all this stuff. But it really took me, even through, like, I knew what he had done. I knew that he had cheated, but it really took me until after I graduated high school and after I moved out to understand exactly what he did, exactly how he had treated my mom by doing the cheating, by leaving her for a woman that was 16 years younger than my mom, and she had 4 kids at home, like I said, ranging from kindergarten to senior year. So I can't imagine what that did to my mom at that time. I can't imagine they had been married for over 20 years, and he tells her that he's leaving. And I think he never really fully admitted to her what he had done. She obviously knew what was going on after the fact, but I don't know as though he ever told her he was leaving her for this new woman, my teacher. So it's just something overwhelming that it takes a long time to get through and work through and understand. I still don't understand why he did it. I still don't like the fact that he did it. He's now been married to this lady for over 20 years. They seem happy. So I guess if he's happy, everybody's happy. I know my mom, and she passed away last April. I know my mom was never able to get over it. Never. And you were talking 25 years later, and it still hurt. Still seemed like it was fresh, and it hurt, and it was just something nobody can ever get over. So I just thought I'd share a little bit more about what I grew up with and experiencing. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from all of you. Have a great night.